This is going to be the first webinar that we're doing specifically on GCS Commander. So even though it has been a product of ours and has been for sale already for a while, and we have customers using it, we haven't really done a separate webinar on it. So this is the first kind of such promotional activity where basically the idea here is to inform you guys of what we offer, inform you of how is it exactly possible to achieve simultaneous multi-drone control, and well, in the end, answer the main question. So what is UgCS Commander? Why is it useful? And what can you do with it? So again, thank you for joining. My name is Kristaps. I am the product owner of UgCS here at SPH Engineering. And yeah, so let's get started with the webinar. So at the beginning, maybe some general info about it. I expect the total duration with the QA session can be up to 1 hour. So I'll try to keep it short so we can use our time here efficiently. There's the chat here in Zoom. If you want to send us some message, you can do it over the chat. However, I'm sure many of you will have questions that you would like to get answered either over text or during the webinar by me answer live. So please make sure to put all the questions in the Q&A section here in Zoom. And yeah, so then we will answer them. I have my support colleagues joining me today, Irina and Valerie. So if you have at some point written to our support team, support@ugcs.com, there's a chance you might have already talked with them. So yeah, any questions you have, please put in the Q&A. We'll be answering them. And some of them, which I'll think of that are the most interesting, I'll also try to answer live. The webinar is also being recorded, and then after, maybe in case you don't have the possibility to stay for the whole webinar session, then after it, we will also send you the recording so you can, review certain parts and rewatch it, basically. And this will, of course, also include this presentation here. So very quickly, general quick history about who we are, what do we do. So we are SPH Engineering. We are a company located in Riga, in Latvia. We have been founded in 2013, and everything basically started from UgCS, flight planning software. And then, as the years went by, then around it, we managed to build other businesses or other product lines. So we have UgCS, that's kind of my main zone of responsibility. We have GCS Integrated Systems. This is where we have different geological sensors, where we have true terrain following for drones. We also have our separate business line of drone show software, where we make software for drone shows, as well as we do custom development, as well as consulting. So we have also a network of resellers all across the world. We have various partners who are, specifically in the geophysical area with integrated systems, and over more than 100 countries currently host UgCS pilots, with it being one of the tools of choice for professional drone pilots. But that's basically briefly about the company, and now let's get into the main topics of this webinar. So first, I think it makes sense that they give you a bit of a better overview of what products we have under UgCS. So if we quickly go back to the previous slide, just a clarification, this doesn't include these other business lines, so integrated drone show and so on. So these are separate products we have here at SPH. So now about the product specifically under UgCS. So first and foremost, obviously, we have UgCS itself, so the flight planning tool. I'm sure most of you are probably familiar with that, have used it. In case you're not familiar, then also I'll be showing the software briefly in the webinar itself, along with Commander. So for GCS, we have 3 separate licenses: Pro, Expert, as well as Enterprise. Pro license is the one that has basic tools for flight planning. Expert license is the one we recommend for most drone pilots. It also incorporates LiDAR surveying tools. And then Enterprise license, this includes all the previous features with the addition of video streaming, as well as the ability to deploy it centralized. And basically, you can choose which software components can you run where. So for larger teams, Enterprise would be the way to go. And UgCS Commander, it basically utilizes or includes all the tools of UgCS Enterprise, as well as the tools for multi-drone control, where you can control multiple drones at the same time. And also then we have UgCS Mapper, which is a quick tool for doing in-field map creation, map processing, so you can have up-to-date map and elevation data when you are in the field. Again, any questions, please put in Q&A. I see there's already some, but I'll get to it soon, and I'll also answer them when I can. Then kind of after this overview, I'd like to maybe go in a bit of a history about UgCS. So why was UgCS created in the first place back in the 2013, which is actually already 10 years ago. So this year in January, we did also celebrate 10 years of SPH Engineering. So UgCS was created around the idea that at that time, the drone market was quite, how to say, distributed between different small manufacturers making drones. At that time, also even DJI, they still were not that well known. It wasn't sure whether they also how big would they get. And each of the companies making drones, they either had some flight planning solution of their own, or in many cases it didn't even come with a flight planning solution. Yeah, so and those who did have it, then they were only limited to one certain platform. So what was the idea at that time behind GCS is that so this could be the platform that drone manufacturers could use, that they could basically provide together with their drones, and also this would be a platform combining the ability to fly drones off various platforms altogether. So as it stands now, GCS still retains this functionality, so it's still possible to use multiple drones from different manufacturers in GCS. And also, even as you can see here in this ancient screenshot from, I think this could be around 2014, maybe could be around that time. So you can even still see that here, it is possible to have multiple drones visible on the map at the same time. So the whole GCS architecture also was built around this idea that pilots in the future would be flying multiple drones at the same time. So I think looking at all of this, how it looks here, we can maybe move on to what is UgCS now, kind of how have we developed. So you can see there's quite a lot of things that have been added, quite a lot of things that have been changed since then. But at the same time, you can see we still retain the ability to have multiple drones here in UgCS at the same time, with the addition of having different routes for different drones. However, it's also important to note here that nowadays, most drone pilots, when you're flying your drone and most other programs, they're basically intended that you fly one drone at the same time. And even here, in fact, you can see, if you pay close attention to what's here on the right side of the screen, you can see it currently. The EMU 101 drone is selected. And so then this means that all the telemetry you see is specifically for that drone. All the commands are also specifically for that drone, which means that in case you, for example, have multiple drones in different locations and you want to view all of this data all together, there's really no easy way how to do it in GCS. Even though this was designed with multiple drones in mind, you still kind of have to switch between different drones. So you have to switch between, in this case, the quadcopter, the plane, and so on. And this is with just two drones. So for each of them, you have to, for example, when you want to launch them, you need to switch to this drone. You need to upload the mission, make sure everything's okay. You need to switch this drone into ARM, auto mode, and then have this drone lift off, and then do the procedure on the second drone, or even other drones as well, if you're, for example, flying more than two drones at the same time. So where does this kind of leave us? So GCS has the functionality that the server that's running always typically on the same computer where it is installed. So the server has in fact the functionality to run many drones at the same time. However, the interface, in most cases, I'd say probably 99% of pilots, they only need to fly one drone at the same time, at least. It has been like that for now. So what can we kind of add to the software? We're thinking like, how can we extend this functionality? And so this is basically where, as we were developing the product, we also came up with UgCS Commander at that time. So in general, what is Commander? I'll show you interface in just a second as well. But so UgCS Commander, it's basically a tool that allows you to launch and control multiple drones simultaneously. This means that at the same time, you can run multiple drones, you can send commands to them simultaneously. So this would be one of the main selling points here, that in case you, for example, want multiple drones to take off at the same time with UgCS Commander, you can do that with just a click of a button, and also you can monitor them. One of the most important things when it comes to monitoring drones during flight is obviously the battery level. So Commander allows you to see the battery levels of multiple drones that are in the air at the same time. And so you can see, for example, okay, which drone might need to have the battery changed, or which drone has some error. So all of this is visible in UgCS Commander. So what's more, it's also same how UgCS is, it's multi-platform. So you can combine basically drones from different manufacturers. So this includes that you can, with Commander, even do multi-drone flights of DJI drones. And then going into the interface, this is how the Commander looks like. So yeah, in here you can see that you have a list of drones. In this case, this example, these are only 2 drones, but of course you can also have obviously more than just 2. Drones have their assigned route. So in this case, these are just the emulator drones that we have in GCS by default, but here you can, for example, have let's say even for testing purposes, you can have the emulator, you can have autopilot and PX4 drones, and you can have the DJI drones here as well. Next, you can see what flight mode is the drone in and what state. So whether the drone is armed, disarmed, manual, auto mode, and so on. You can also see the drone status, if the drone is airborne or the drone is on the ground, and so on. And of course, important parameters such as altitude, vertical and ground speed, battery, like I mentioned before, then GPS, number of GPS satellites, data link, comms method, and so on. Here also you can see that you can select the drones. You can either send commands to drones individually, or you can select multiple drones and then send commands to them at the same time. So in general, how does this work? So first, you select your mission in GCS, and so the mission typically includes routes for multiple drones. Then next, you press on calculate. So this means that all the routes are calculated. And then once they are calculated, you can go here and upload the routes to all of the drones. In case there is some error with the route, this will be shown. And so then you can go back to GCS, see the log, and then change the route. But if everything is okay, then all the routes are uploaded. And then after that, next thing basically is you can arm the drones, press on auto mode, and then they will all be sent on their way. Also, of course, during flight, in case you need to pause them or continue, then you have this functionality. You can even set a timer during the flight, as well as, of course, you have the possibility to send emergency commands, such as land, disarm, return home, and so on. There's also a log where you can see any warnings that are coming from the drones, so you can basically see everything in a single spot. So how is this typically used? So if we go here, then this would be the typical scenario. So you would, for example, have 2 screens. If you want, you can, of course, also combine this on a single monitor, or just have a laptop and an external monitor where you can see the GCS screen and where you can see Commander. So you can use this in the field, you can use this in the office. It really depends on your specific scenario and your use case. Yep, and so then basically here you can see that in GCS we have, again, this is the most simple example where we have 2 drones, 2 routes. Each drone has their route assigned, and then you can launch both of these drones simultaneously. But of course, this can be extended, so you can add more drones to this, and yeah, you can add more advanced functionality, such as, like I mentioned, UgCS Commander does also include UgCS Enterprise features. And the most important enterprise features there would be the ability to stream video, as well as the ability to deploy the software in a distributed installation, meaning that you can have different parts of the software on different devices, or even centralized. So this means you can have one main server where everything is kind of going to. You can have pilots in the field connecting to the server. So that will also be one of the use cases. So basically, in this case, with 3 of these screens, what would you get? You would get a 3D map where you can see the locations of all the drones that are currently flying. You would see their active routes that they're flying. You have in the Commander one kind of main, centralized spot where you can send the commands to all the drones simultaneously, where you can do their telemetry, where you can have detailed information on, their speed, battery level, their altitude above ground, and so on. And then third is that you can see the video, live video coming from the drones. Regarding live video, so easiest is to get it from DJI drones. So for example, if you're flying M300, Mavic 2 Enterprise or similar ones, then there they directly support video streaming. So these drones are connected to UgCS through UgCS for DJI mobile app that's running on the drone smart controllers. And yeah, so through there, you are able to see the video coming into the video server of UgCS Enterprise. So the Enterprise, it basically comes with a separate installation for video tools. So for this kind of setup, what would you have is first you would install GCS. Then after that, you would install GCS Enterprise video tools. And after that, as the third one, you would also set up the Commander, which would run in parallel of everything and would basically give you this ability to control multiple drones. In case you are running some drones which are not DJI, which are, for example, Autopilot or PX4, and you still need to see the video, there also is actually a solution. So in that case, you can see, you can basically use our GCS video streaming tool, which allows you to capture the video coming from Autopilot or PX4 drones, and then you can send this video to the video server where you can see it, for example, together with video coming from DJI drones. So this tool basically allows you to combine videos from different drones and see everything in a single spot. So yeah, this is regarding that. And so if I had to summarize what would be the features of UgCS Commander, so this would be the following. So first, you get the ability to see drone status as well as their telemetry data. You also get the ability to select which route you want to upload to which drone. You can calculate the route as well as upload it to the drone. Next also allows you to simultaneously launch them. It allows you to hold missions and then continue them from a certain spot for all drones. It gives you the ability to execute simultaneously emergency commands such as land, return home, hold, and disarm. It also, currently the maximum number of drones we recommend using with UgCS Commander is 10. In case you have some application where you need to use more than 10 drones, there will be contact information later, so you can get in touch with us and we can discuss what is the specific case. And then also, like I mentioned, so you can use the video streaming features of UgCS Enterprise with Commander. So they come included when you get UgCS Commander. And then next is, so like I mentioned, centralized installation. In case you need to use this from main centralized server, then you can also do this. So you can basically set up somewhat of a command center for yourself with the GCS Commander. And then kind of moving further is, so what are the applications of this? So in what cases would this be useful? So of course, there maybe are some which we have not yet foreseen, but we can also discuss them. It would actually be interesting to hear what applications are you guys interested in with GCS Commander. But so first one would be using multiple drones simultaneously for speeding up surveys or for mapping. For instance, if you have, let's say, multiple fields from which are located quite close to one another or even a bit further, because with Enterprise, you can basically connect drones from any location as long as it has internet connectivity. So then in that case, you can set it up. You can have multiple drones surveying different areas, and you can basically collect your data faster. And for example, instead of only flying one drone at the same time, if it's possible for you to launch 2 drones from the same location, you can basically speed up the data collection process 2 times, or let's say with 3 drones, even 3 times. So yeah, it really depends on how many drones you want to launch and from which locations and how many pilots would you have to get in those cases. Next one would be search and rescue operations. So also one application that I see where the Commander could be useful is when multiple drones need to fly at the same time to cover quickly a search and rescue operation area. So let's say if there's some forest where, for example, some person is missing, then you can have multiple drones with either normal or thermal cameras covering the area at the same time. It's possible to also get video from these drones in case you're using DJI drones, but with others also it's possible, but not as straightforward, not as easy. And you can see the data from all of them at the same time. You can launch them at the same time if necessary. You can, if, for example, you suddenly need to have all the drones returned back home, you can do that with a single press of a button. Another application actually for which we kind of initially thought that Commander would be useful is testing counter-drone systems. So as the number of drones in the skies is constantly increasing, then of course at the same time, many companies and government agencies are also interested in the topic of how do we protect against drones? How do we make sure that drones can't cause harm, or how do we ensure that over some restricted areas nobody is flying their drones? So of course in those cases people are deploying anti-drone or counter-drone measures, and how do you know that these measures are actually effective? So Commander can be one such way where you can test it, since in fact it allows you to launch a simulated attack of multiple drones on an object, and you can then basically see whether these systems are reacting, whether they are able of detecting all of the drones at the same time, or maybe some drones are getting through these systems, maybe some drones are able to fly in unnoticed. So that's something what it can also be used for. As well as there can be other potential applications, such as one would be drone delivery. Even though, of course, there are a separate, it's a whole separate topic for discussion, but also one potential application that does involve flying multiple drones simultaneously and managing them. And yeah, of course, centralized management, when you have a fleet of drones for various tasks and you need to see all of their locations, need to be able to send simultaneous commands to them. So for those cases, the Commander also would be useful. And yeah, in general, this can be used for any application that does require more than one drone to be up in the air simultaneously. And so here, I saw there's also a question about compatibility. So I think I'll address this as well. So Commander is currently compatible with all drones which can be connected directly to UgCS. There are currently some drones which can't be connected directly, but which work through a means of route export from UgCS. So this one example would be AUTEL drones. So AUTEL you can't connect directly. For AUTEL you need to export a KML file and then import it. Similarly, Mavic 3 Enterprise and M30 drones, these are currently also supported through route export, although I can tell you a bit of a secret that soon, probably in a few weeks, it will also actually be possible to connect them directly from DJI Pilot 2, but still there for Commander, that functionality will be a bit limited. However, the main drones which we currently support in Commander is the DJI M300, M600 and 200 series, Mavic 2, Phantom 4 series, as well as Inspire 2 and Inspire 1. So basically DJI Inspire series. Also, all Ardupilot and PX4 based drones, these are also supported. So all of these you can connect to GCS and you can use them. In case you have some questions about any other specific drones, can they work with Commander, can they not? You'll have our contacts. You can get in touch with us, and then we can also answer these questions. Going back just a few slides, what I also wanted to say is that basically, if we take a look at, all of the lineup of products that we have, so I'd say Commander is basically the most full version of UgCS which you can get, because with this you essentially get all of the features of all the other licenses with the addition of flying multiple drones. So if you have some application which requires flying multiple drones at the same time, so this would be the solution to use in that case. So now let's skip the slides again. Let's go back to where we were. I'll look at the Q&A in just a bit, but I think for now, I want to show you the software demo. So want to show you how UgCS Commander works in reality. Again, this will be in the most simple scenario with only 2 drones, but like I said, so this can be extended. So small disclaimer. So I am currently on the Mac system. Commander works on Windows. So I have Commander running from Parallels on my Mac and the GCS running natively on my Mac. So just in case there are any issues, just so you know that I am running with the non-standard deployment for the webinar. Of course, the standard deployment would be running GCS as well as Commander on a Windows native system. So let's now go here. I'll share my my screen with you. I'll have to share the whole desktop, just so you can see both programs running simultaneously. So here they are. So many of you are probably already familiar with UgCS. So I have it running in here, and this is just the basic setup where we have two drones. So I have the helicopter, and then I have the EMU plane as well. So basically one quadcopter, one fixed wing drone. In this case, if you have any other drones, you would also have them available in Commander. There is a bit of configuration you need to do to be able to define so which drones do you exactly want to use in Commander, but it's really easy to do. So currently there's two drones, which I would be using here. And also I am currently in my demo mission. So Commander, it detects which routes are supported for which drone. And so you can currently see that I have two routes. One is for each of these drones. So if we now move quickly into the Commander, so then here, I hope the interface is large enough for you. So like I said, I'm running parallel, so there might be some issues. I hope that everything will work okay. Because again, this is the Commander is currently running in a virtual machine on the Mac. So in case we run into any issues, just so you are aware of what could potentially happen here. A bit of yep. So in any case, you can see here I have both of these drones. So I have the EMU 101 and EMU 102. I have routes selected for both. So typically you would go ahead and select them. Is it possible to connect multiple videos to GCS Enterprise? Yes, that's entirely possible. So GCS Enterprise supports multiple video streams. In theory, depending on the network bandwidth, it's even possible to have, well, basically up to the number of drones, how many you can fly. So in that case, it would be 10 drones simultaneously, so you can have 10 simultaneous video streams. One note, though, is that the video player of GCS Enterprise, maybe I'll put it here on the screen so you can see it. So you can see you can basically divide the window by either seeing 1, 2, or 4 videos simultaneously. If you need to see more than 4 videos at the same time, so in that case, you would need to basically open up just another instance of video player, and so then you can have additional video streams. So essentially, in that sense, you're not limited. I would say that there the main limitation is actually the network bandwidth. So now my Windows is starting up. I knew I should have done this on my Windows machine back at home, but hopefully we'll get there and I'll be able to show everything. Okay, while it's starting, I'll see what other questions I can answer here. So from Mark, there's a question of what equipment is needed. In general, I would say equipment needs are, well, first up, obviously, whichever drones would you be using? So that's number one. Second, if assuming you're using DJI drones, multiple at the same time, I would recommend using a dedicated Wi-Fi router. So drones, good Wi-Fi router that can handle the simultaneous connections, and then basically computer with ideally with multiple screens, although you can actually use also multiple computers. So for example, if you know that in the field you're going to have, let's say, 2 laptops, that's also not a problem. Like I said, software is modular, so you can in fact have the software running on different computers as long as they are on the same network. You can, for example, have a setup like this. You can have GCS on one device, you can have Commander on the second one, and then you can have the videos that you are getting from the drones. So this you can have on the third device. Okay, I'll see what other questions I have. Yes, so will there be a notification of the drones which are about to cross paths? Yes, so that question is from Dylan. Also a really good question. You do have this one. We do have this functionality. So when 2 drones are getting too close, then you will be getting a proximity warning in UgCS. One thing I have to note is it doesn't really predict in the flight planning stage when, if 2 routes will be crossing. It's a bit hard to calculate at what point will what drone be where, and that there might be a dangerous moment there. However, when the drones are in the flight and you'll see way ahead of time some notification that 2 drones might be getting a bit too close, then in that case you can see what to do. So you can either but if you think it could still be safe, then that's fine. Or if you think, okay, maybe it's worth stopping one drone, so then what you can do is
in GCS Commander. So here you can see there is a hold button. So you can execute the hold button, have one drone stay on the same spot, while the other one already moves a bit further, and then you can continue the mission from the other drone. So yeah, that's basically how that would work. I think I have some issue with, I'm now unable to open up my Windows virtual machine, unfortunately. I will try again, but if not, then I suppose we'll just have to kind of go ahead with what's here in the presentation. So I do apologize for that. But again, like I mentioned, this is due to my virtual machines. A question from Matt as well. I plan to support Linux. So we don't have that many Linux users. However, we do have support for Ubuntu Linux. So in case you need that, then yeah, please get in touch with our support team. So support@ugcs.com, and then we can provide you with a version of Linux. Although I have to mention that Commander, it's only for Windows. But UgCS itself, this you can run on Linux. So this means that the GCS server you can deploy on a Linux machine, but you would need to use the Commander either on a virtual machine of Windows or on a native machine running Windows, which can also be separate from the one that will be running your Linux server. Yeah, it seems like we kind of have already gone into the a bit of Q&A here, which I think that's fine. I see there's quite a lot of questions, and some of them are quite interesting as well. So I think let's maybe do the following. So my Windows is still failing to start, so I think we'll just have to use what's in the presentation here. In case you feel that you might need to get some more information on Commander that you might want to see running, before you decide to pull the trigger on it, we can also provide you a demo of the Commander. We can also provide some additional calls and basically show it to you there. But yeah, it looks like the virtual machine is not going to happen for me today, unfortunately. But since I suppose many of you guys are from technical background as well, so I hope you would understand. So I'll just now switch the presentation back into full screen mode. I will reshare it, reshare the screen just to make sure that everything is running smoothly here, and then I think let's just basically go through the Q&A. If somehow miraculously the virtual machine does decide to launch, then I can show you that. But if not, then I think we can handle it, and that's okay. Yeah, so another question I see is, so any services related to agriculture or precision farming? Well, so there, I suppose, if for agriculture actually might be one of the applications for Commander as well, especially if you have multiple drones, which you intend to use at the same time. Then the GCS Commander, you can have, for example, a different drone flying over a different agricultural field. You can track the drones, track what's the speed, see the live video coming from them, as well as see their altitude, for instance. So for sure, I think agriculture can be one of the potential applications where, in fact, Commander can significantly speed up the time it takes to do surveys, as long as it's possible for you to run multiple drones at the same time. Then yeah, this is also, I see, one of the real areas where this can be deployed. Okay, let me just quickly read the next question that's here. Okay, this is about different flight plans. Okay, can you upload multiple missions and Commander is giving different flight plans to different drones? Oh, so you mean that, okay, this question is from Robert. So I suppose you're asking, would it be possible to simply mark an area and Commander builds flight plans for different UAVs? It's a good idea. Actually, it's something we can potentially put in Commander in the future, as we will be developing it and adding more features there. Currently, yeah, the way it works is that you need to have a specific route planned for each drone. But one way how you could theoretically go about it, if you have some larger area, you can basically quickly plan different area scans, or you can simply even just plan one area scan, let's say some rectangular shape. There's easy way how you can duplicate and then move the whole route, and then you basically
have different routes, and then have them for different drone profiles, and then just basically select each route for a different drone. So I think that would be kind of the way how I would go about it. If we'll have some time, I can show you a demo in GCS, how maybe I would try to plan such missions. But yeah, so in the future, actually, it's also not a bad idea that some ability to maybe plan larger area scans and then simply divide them between drones. You can already actually do a similar thing with our corridor scans. So you can plan a longer corridor scan, and you can split it, and then the split routes, you can, in fact, well, basically, let's say you're running, for example, 3 M300s, then you can simply select which route would be going for which drone. I do have an idea how I can try to get the virtual machine working. So let me try this. So then kind of going on further, what are the questions I can answer here? Well, quite a lot of them actually, really good. Is data that has been captured protected, and how it happens? This is a question from Anonymous. Well, basically all the data which you gather, it really depends also whether you are streaming the video or not. First scenario would be when you are not streaming the video with UgCS Enterprise / Commander. In that case, all the data, it's stored locally on the SD cards of the drones. So as you would normally, for example, map out an area, so everything would be stored on the SD card of each of the drones which are flying. No, seems that Parallels is refusing to start. I think at this point, what I can do is I can share the screen of UgCS, and then I can basically try to show different things there. So yeah. For next Commander webinar, I promised you guys I will be using a Windows machine for that, without any virtual machines. So yeah, it seems that maybe when I'm sharing the screen over Zoom, that's what it doesn't really like. But in any case, I share my screen of UgCS. So yeah, so maybe quickly also address the question again about how do you plan for multiple drones. So I would probably actually do it like this. So you can create a new mission, and then let's say we can create a single route for the DJI M300. We can go into corridor mapping, select some camera. Let's maybe use the H20 ground resolution. Let's specify 2 centimeters. And now we can plan, for example, a corridor scan mission. So maybe something like that. So now I have 2 corridor scans. Let's wait for, well, there's the 1 corridor scan. Let's wait for this to be calculated. Let's maybe increase the width a bit. So for example, 60 meters, or maybe we would need to bring it up even more. Let's say 80. And even more, because depending on the altitude, I guess in this case, even 80. Yeah, okay, so now we have 2 of these survey lines. And so in any case, now we have only 1 corridor scan mission. So what you can do is that in the corridor scan, you can click on any of these points. And so then at this point, you can select the option to split. So you select it, and so now you can see you actually now have 2 separate routes, so 2 separate corridor scans. And so yeah, in this case, basically what you can do is you can run a different drone on each of them. So in Commander, you will be able to choose, let's say, route 1 for the first M300 and then route 2 for the second one. So yeah, that would be one option of what you can do. Going back to the questions that we had, so from Matthias, is it possible to operate the drones in manual mode and see in real-time location of the drone in UgCS? So yeah, answer here is yes, it's fully possible. So here we can go to the emulator drone. And so yeah, even with these simple emulator drones, you can in fact fly them in manual mode. So UgCS will show the drone no matter what. So as long as the drone is connected there, this includes autopilot, PX4, DJI, no matter what drone you have, as long as it can be connected directly to UgCS. You can see here, it shows the flight mode. So this means that even when you're flying the drones manually, you will still be able to see them. So you can also imagine maybe a case when you can have, let's say, 5 or 10 drones flying simultaneously, where you can monitor their location on the map here in GCS, and where you can see all their telemetry data in GCS Commander. And so it doesn't really matter whether you're flying them in automated mode or in manual mode, you will be able to see all the drones and their locations. So I hope that answers your question. So from Stefan, next question is, so does Commander provide an exact time for a synchronous operation of 2 or more drones in order to reach defined waypoints at a certain time? It's a good question, but the answer here is that it does not synchronize the drones by time. So that's something which we have in our drone show software. So if you need time synchronization, which is typically used when you want to use drones for entertainment purposes, so then I would suggest you can look into our drone show software. So this would be droneshowsoftware.com. And so there you will be able to basically also get in touch with us and then find information about that. Also, I'm actually would be interested in understanding the scenario for which would you need synchronized control over time. But yeah, in most cases, like I said, this would be for drone shows. And so we do have a solution for that, but it's just not Commander. It's more related to DSS. But yeah, so Commander, it doesn't synchronize over time. However, at the same time, if you build a route in such a way that the distance to a certain point is the same, then you can achieve to some extent synchronization by time, because if you also use wait actions, then for autopilot drones, it's also possible to make it so that the drones will stop at these, let's say, points in the middle, and they'll automatically go into hold, and then you can press continue to have the drones continue from that spot. Then next question from Angelo. So can drones fly side by side? Yes, although I would like to understand a bit more of what did you mean by that specifically. But yeah, so overall, drones in Commander, they can fly at the side by side. So if you, for example, want drones to fly to some direction simultaneously, then this can also be done. This actually brings me to an interesting thing I also wanted to show you guys in the webinar. So let me maybe quickly, I'll try to show. So this is our main UgCS site, which I'm sure you are probably already aware of. Then if you click here on pricing, you will go to our shop where you can see different products, among them also GCS Commander, which is located over here. And so one of the videos here, this is actually one that was filmed a while ago, but this is specifically regarding testing GCS Commander for counter drone systems. So here also you can actually see an example of how this would be. So here you can see a 3D model of a building imported in this case. In this case, this would be, looks to be a prison facility. So here you can see there are multiple drones connected at the same time. So I believe here they will be shown soon as well. So in this case, this is testing a counter drone systems. So you can, for example, see that there are different routes planned, one for each drone. And so then the facility will basically be facing an attack from drones from different directions. So yeah, step number one is that you need to select all the drones, and then you see we're pressing on calculate. So this calculates all the routes. So then the route colors, they change here from red to white. So now you can see we have a message that all routes have been calculated successfully. And then after that, next step is you upload the routes. So now all the routes are uploaded to all the drones, which also makes things a lot easier, because imagine if you had to click on the drones one by one and do this one by one. You couldn't go mad doing that. So this basically automates everything. Single button upload, single button launch. So now you can see we are seeing all of the drones here on the map. And so then the next step is we can execute ARM on all of them. And then we can select auto mode to have the drones take off. At that point, we can also see, you can see initiate the timer. So we can see how much the time the drones have already spent in the air. So you can see the drones are taking different trajectories. You can also see that we are getting proximity warnings from different drones. So yeah, it also answers the question of, when two drones get too close, how do you know that? So you know that from those proximity warnings. So now you can see that basically all of them are going towards their intended trajectories, and that then they would basically try to invade the airspace of this facility. So as you know, over most prison areas, there is a no-fly zone, and I suspect many of these areas also have already some counter-drone systems in place. So yeah, this can basically test, so how do these systems work in these cases? But again, like I mentioned previously, the Commander is not just for this, it can also be used in other applications, basically any operation where you need to use multiple drones at the same time. So let's skip ahead just a bit. So yeah, now at this point, when the drones are stopping at a certain point, you can also make it so that from the click of the button, when you press on continue, the drones will continue from the point where there was the wait action. And so now you can see there's multiple drones trying to invade this area from different directions. And yeah, to basically see how the counter drone systems react. Will they detect all of these drones, or will some drone be able to pass undetected? There are also, of course, now systems that already, can bring the drones down to the ground. So yeah, it can be used for testing such systems and their effectiveness. So yep, I believe that answers that question. So also, if you want, for example, drones flying side by side, then yeah, you would simply construct the route in such a way. I'll then try to go a bit further through the questions that you guys have at the same time. I'll maybe share then again the presentation. Okay, so now let's see what other questions are there. Okay, so is it possible to program an interaction between several drones? So let's say when the second drone is programmed to continue the mission when the battery of the first drone depletes. This is actually also a really good idea. We don't have it yet. Overall, the possibilities there. It's something which, in fact, you can also add on top. So as you know, for GCS also, we have an SDK available. So if you have some programming skills, then actually you can add some functionality on top of this. Or if you're interested in such a project, you can also get in touch with us and we can then discuss this, because this is something which can be implemented, I believe, quite easily. So yeah, we can talk about this. What's the application there? And yeah, so I think this technically is possible and should not be that hard to implement. Next, so has anyone managed to obtain the waiver for using multiple drones? So we have experience from our drone show business of helping our customers obtain FAA permissions in various countries. This is in Europe, in USA, when users need to fly swarm drones. Of course, there are oftentimes different requirements. This can vary. There can be requirements that you need to have one pilot per drone, and then maybe you won't even need any specific waiver. Or if there's one operator and multiple drones, in those cases, probably you would need to obtain a waiver. So yeah, if you have any more questions about that, also please feel free to contact us, because we, like I said, we do have some knowledge in the area how to obtain them here at SPH Engineering that we gain specifically for drone shows. And yeah, we can help you with that and try to basically answer your questions. So now next question, let's see. So all the drones only positioned and synchronized by GNSS. What's their real-time 3D positional accuracy, specifically the distance? This will depend on what kind of GPS you are using. So Commander will show you the state of GPS. So whether it's 3D fix, whether it's DGPS, or whether it's RTK. If, for example, you would be using DJI drones with RTK, then of course you would have higher positional accuracy during the flight, and that would be within centimeters. So yeah, if you're using RTK GPS, then you would have higher level of accuracy, basically. But yeah, it does depend on what drones you are using. Okay, then next question from Evan. So payload running off of Cube Pilot. Is it possible to it's possible to attach it to any other drone? Is it possible to send on the same mission to both autopilots without worrying about collision detection? Here I would want to understand, so more the specific use case. Overall, yeah, so what you can do is you can plan a specific mission for a drone. well, let's say that you maybe have a single mission that you want to first have one drone start and then have one drone maybe fly the same exact mission. So what you would do in that case is you would plan a single route in GCS. You can then go ahead and duplicate that route. Then you can launch the first drone on the route, on the first version of the route. And then the second one also you can upload and then launch. So again, collision detection, it's depends what you mean by collision detection, because so we have proximity warnings when drones get too close. But again, so these warnings won't really stop the drones from flying. So the basically preventing the drones from running into one another, this would be dependent on what drones you're using, the optical detection sensors, as well as whether you have, for example, a pilot for each drone. So yeah, overall, it's not a problem to, even what you can do is you can have one larger route. You can have one drone, for example, start the route from the middle, and then you can have another drone start the route from the very beginning, so that you can have a single large area scan that two drones are flying at the same time. Formally, this would be actually two separate routes. But if you just copy the same route, then basically you can have the same route executed at the same time. Okay, I'll see then with there's a few other questions here. And then actually let's, while I answer them, I just maybe don't want to move from here. Yeah, into, I'll just keep this slide open. So, it's possible to, yeah, program some interaction between drones. Yeah, also this is it possible? Yes. So overall, we can program also some interaction so that, let's say, when one drone, for example, finishes a flight, then the second drone is launched. That is possible, but it's not yet currently in Commander. So we, again, need to understand the overall use case more. And again, so that's something, if you have some, development skills or resources, then you can also use our SDK, which does allow you to interact with drones. It does allow you to, for example, send auto mode to a certain drone when another drone has reported that it has landed. So you can actually develop such a system. Yeah, if you require, then we can also develop it for you. So we are also open to different custom integration projects. From the start of SPH, also we've kind of had this mantra, how do you say that? The crazier the project, the more interesting it is, oftentimes. So yeah, then there's another question is, so does the system need an internet connection to operate? Good question again. Answer is no. So internet connection is not needed. So UgCS is overall, even historically, built around the fact that you don't need to have internet in order to operate it. I will quickly share the screen of UgCS with you, just so I can quickly show you what do I mean by that and how can you use this in cases when you don't have internet. So I'll add the ML plan here as well. So we, for example, have two drones here on the map. So you can see currently, of course, UgCS has the internet connection and it is downloading the map as well as the elevation from the internet. However, what I believe, so Angela, what you mentioned is that this would be used in your case by search and rescue teams after, let's say, an earthquake, where, of course, in that case, it's likely that there will be no internet infrastructure. So what you can do is, before you head out this area where you won't have any internet coverage, you can catch the map and elevation for offline use. So you can go here into map layers, then offline maps. And so here you can add new offline map segments. You can see I already have one such segment here. So this would be this one, but you can add others as well. So you can go ahead and click here on add. Then we need to enter some name for it. Then we can also choose what elevation we want to download, what should be the map source that we want to download, and then basically you can select this map region here. In the center, you can see how large is the area. So this area is about 5 square kilometers, but actually a single area that you can catch for offline use in GCS can be up to 100 square kilometers. So even this, you can see this large area is only 31 kilometers. So you can have areas of up to 100 square kilometers, and you can have multiple of them. So once you have this area here selected, you will click here on create, and then you see here in this corner that this area is now being cached to the local geographic server, so that then basically once this progress reaches 100%, then this map will be cached for offline use. if you have in the field, let's say when you're doing search and rescue operations, if you have there multiple pilots, maybe each of them would have some separate computer on which they're using GCS. What you can actually do is that you can use the main computer that's running the GF server where all the maps are cached, and then you can simply connect other devices to the main computer. And so that's also one way how you could do it. Similarly, if you're, for example, using DJI drones, you can have multiple DJI drones connect to this main computer. So how do they connect? Also, internet is not required. I just want to state that. You can have a router that's in the field, but this router can be in offline mode. So this would just work as a local network. So let's say you are in the field, maybe you're using some, let's say, Asus or whatever brand router in offline mode with no internet, but this just basically serves as a gateway where all of the devices can connect together so that they can get the map data from GCS, even though you don't have any internet in that scenario. So, okay, I believe now you should be able to see it. Now that you have some initial information about Commander, so basically what's the interface, what can be used, what would be the main use cases there. So where to go from here? So number one, I suggest that if you want to test it out, you can get a trial of GCS Commander. You can't get it from the site as a trial, so there you would need to contact us directly. So here I left the contacts of our sales manager, Yana. So this is her email as well. So Yana Aksyukova@ugcs.com. So you can take note of this email, take a picture, or later on, when we send you the the mailing after the webinar, also her contacts will be in there. So you can get in touch, we can talk, and then we can also provide you with a demo, a trial version of the GCS Commander, which you can test out and see whether this works for your specific scenario. And then basically step number two, or option number two, is that you can head on over to our shop. So this would be shop.ugcs.com and see the Commander product, read more about it, and purchase it as well. The price of Commander is, I believe, 4,790 euros, if I'm not mistaken, plus VAT. So here you can see there's the QR code, and if you just point your mobile phone's camera at the QR code, you'll also be taken to our web shop where we have UgCS Commander there. Yeah, so those would basically be the next steps. And so yeah, that's essentially it. So this slide was meant for the Q&A as well. So yeah, in case you have some more questions, you can still put them in the Q&A. We still have some time here, so I should be able to answer them. But yeah, so like I said, make sure to check out shop.ugcs.com. You can also, like I said, scan the QR code and go to the site and check out, read more about Commander. Also, the video I showed about testing counter-drone systems, it's also there in the product page, so you'll also be able to see that. So yeah, go ahead, read, then of course get in touch with us and we can talk more about Commander. We are also actually really interested in understanding your use case scenario, and yeah, how can we help you? How can we better make the software suit your needs? So okay, I see there are no other open questions at this time. So yeah, I suppose then that's it. Thank you everybody for your time. I think we actually managed to exactly end the webinar 1 hour later. So very, very kind of very on time. So yeah, thank you everyone.